City on this Friday, August 29th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, CJ Garbo. In the Rocky Mountain Voice, writing, after months of prayer and deliberation and heartbreak, my wife and I have made the decision to leave Colorado. We've accepted an offer on our home in Castle Rock. And for the first time in my life, I'm saying goodbye to the state of my birth. The mountains where I learned to hike, the skyline I memorized as a child, the people and culture I have served, fought for, and loved. This is not an easy decision. This is pain. This is grief. This is exile. But I'm not moving for a job. I'm not moving for a change of scenery. I'm leaving because Colorado has made it abundantly clear that I no longer have a voice in the government of my own state. I'm a political refugee. My family is being forced out, not by a singular law or politician, but by an entire governing culture that despises my values, silences my beliefs, and ridicules my faith. Colorado was once a beacon of Western independence, rugged personal liberty, and community responsibility. Now it is ruled by a tyrannical, one-party regime, drunk on power and wholly unaccountable to reason, morality, or the rule of law. I've watched from inside as the state capital is turned into a fortress, not just architecturally, but ideologically. Republican lawmakers, decent, earnest public servants, are routinely shouted down, cut off, and stripped of procedural rights. Committee hearings are theater. Debate is performative. Testimony from citizens is dismissed with visible contempt. Doesn't matter how strong the argument is. It doesn't matter how many of us show up. They've made up their minds. Colorado Democrats do not govern for all Coloradans. They govern exclusively for their base, for their donors, and for their ideology. Dissent is treated as extremism. Conviction is treated as hatred. Facts are treated as threats. This Republican leaving, done with the state. We're going to talk with CJ Garbo coming up. Do you feel that pull? Do you feel that call to leave Colorado for greener pastures? Or are you ready to stay here and fight? Where do you fall in that? Would love to hear from you and talk to you about it. Now is time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good morning. Happy Friday. 68 and cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 82 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, it is Labor Day weekend. Drive early in the mornings if you want to avoid traffic. Gas prices are the lowest since 2020. And be careful out there. Focus and take your time.
The people of Colorado, they didn't win here. I mean, there's going to be $153 million in new taxes next year. They're going to cut the general fund spending. I mean, they're going to raise it by $103 million. And the Taxpayer Bill of Rights took a beating because so many of these bills just circumvented the Constitution, basically, when it circumvented the Taxpayer Bill of Rights.
Assistant Minority Leader Ty Winter on with Jeff and Billy this morning. Under the commies here in Colorado, the legislature, well, they pass garbage and then they assume it's constitutional. But if you want to take them to court, guess what? Hey, that's right. Well, you have to pay the attorneys. Takes forever, maybe years. And then the commie-crats know that, and they just raise your taxes. Poll is taking a bow because he'll be making cuts to cover a $750 million hole.
And we're talking about $798 million of taxes over the next 3 years, and then they cut businesses. So they took away business tax credits. They changed tax structure for business, and they said that they were going after the big guy to protect the little guy, and then they turn around the next day and they sell tax credits to the big guy. So nothing was consistent, nothing made sense, and unfortunately the people of Colorado came out losing. But here's the deal. The House Republicans fought. We fought hard. We gave it what we could. They silenced us quite a few times.
If you love our state, quit it. Just stop voting for Democrats, or they will continue to crush us. Stop it. The trans man who changed his name from Robert to Robin and murdered 2 children and injured over a dozen others was a former student at the Minneapolis Catholic Church. Reportedly, his mother, who worked there, is not cooperating with police. Jeff's friend is a pastor in Minneapolis. He arrived right after the shootings at the church a couple days ago, and Cesar Castellanos was on with Jeff and Billy this morning.
These children were my kids' ages, and just seeing the response of parents. Another thing that I then posted on my social media was I was looking at all the police that were posted at all the doors. There was no active threat at that point, but police were everywhere, and the sheriffs were everywhere. The SWAT team was going about the building. The FBI agents were there, and I could tell which agents, police officers, and sheriffs had children.
Continue to pray for everyone involved, including a man like him who had to witness all that. DJT is revoking Kamala Khan's Secret Service protection on September 1st. Former VPs are automatically granted 6 months of protection after leaving office. Scott Jennings on CNN says ICE agents need to be masked because guess what? People, crooks, horrible people, are threatening their families, of course. And guess who? You got it. Abby Phillip doesn't like it. Amazing.
Posting their personal information, posting where their families are, posting where their kids' schools are, putting them and their families in jeopardy. And he doesn't want them to have to do it.
That is a risk that every law enforcement officer in this country faces. Everyone.
You think they do? You think they should face that risk?
Listen, I'm not saying that is right. I'm not saying that is good. It's terrible. No one should be doxxed. No one's families should be brought into their work.
But they are.
What I am saying is that there are beat officers in this country, in every city in America, who are doing their jobs in extremely dangerous situations, and they show their face. Why? Because they work for the people. That is the reason. So the argument here is that's a risk that you take when you take on this responsibility of having law enforcement power in this country, because the accountability is between you and the people.
Yeah, well, I don't agree that law enforcement officers in any agency should have to face the risk of their family being assaulted or themselves.
I don't agree with that either, but I do think that the accountability piece of it cannot be ignored.
They have badges on, and they know who each one of the persons is under the uniform. She is ridiculous. One more time. Got to give it to her. Hey, Bill Belichick's girlfriend, who's about 5 decades younger than him, she wants to trademark the term gold digger.
Jordan Hudson is 49 years younger than the former Patriots coach, who's about to lead his first season in Chapel Hill. The trademark application was filed through TCE Rights Management, the company Belichick owns and Hudson manages. I'm Monica Nelson.
College football for area teams kicked off last night. Wyoming goes on the road to beat Akron 10-0.
Play fake. Caden Anderson. He's going to take a shot deep. Got what he wanted. That throw is hauled in.
That was a play that set up the touchdown to make it a 9-0. Then the extra point. They are 1-0. How about the Corn?
Brendan Sorsby goes for it all, and it doesn't pay off. And Nebraska starts this season with a win, a season where there are a lot of hopes and expectations. Some say an approachable schedule down the stretch. Don't worry about that week to week, but a win today for Matt Rule sets up the potential for a big third year.
Okay, Nebraska over Cincy, 20-17. Tonight in Boulder at Folsom Field, CU plays host to Georgia Tech. 6 o'clock kickoff. Tomorrow, the Rammies at Washington State, and the Falcons at Air Force. They open up with Bucknell. 67 in Aurora, 66 in Lafayette, and 68 in Denver. And Jeff and Billy continue. Have a great weekend, Labor Day weekend. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Deep moisture remains over the Front Range in eastern Colorado Plains. So for today, we're still going to have a very good chance of afternoon and evening thunderstorms, Saturday as well, before things dry out Sunday and Monday. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms, upper 70s and low 80s today. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms Saturday, upper 70s, near 80 and sunny on Sunday, 80s for Labor Day Monday. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Written in Rocky Mountain Voice, a political refugee in Colorado, the painful choice to leave my homeland. CJ Garbo writes, among other things, to the Republicans still here, I salute you. You fight an uphill battle every single day. You show up knowing the rules will be bent against you. You speak knowing you'll be mocked or ignored, and still you speak, still you fight, still you remain true to your oath. That is courage. That is patriotism. That is service, and I honor you. But we must also speak honestly. Too many Republicans are complicit in our decline. Those who treat principled conservatives as the problem, those who split the ticket, divide the movement, sabotage our chances at relevance in the name of pride or pet issues. If your strategy is to, quote, teach the party a lesson, unquote, all you've done is deliver Colorado to the left on a silver platter. The division in our own ranks has cost us seats, legislation, and moral authority. If we don't unify, not around personalities, but around core values, we will continue to lose, and more families like mine will be forced to leave the state we once called home. I'm voting with my feet. I have no voice in the Capitol. My lawmakers are blocked, muted, and ignored. I have no protection under the law. My beliefs are not tolerated. I am governed without representation. So I'm voting with my feet. My departure may not shake the halls of power, but I promise this, I'm not alone. Thousands are leaving. Thousands more are preparing to. Families, entrepreneurs, first responders, tradesmen, parents, retirees, people with means, skills, principles. We are taking our dollars, our dreams, and our dignity, and we're relocating to places where liberty is still respected and our values are not treated as a threat to this state. Wow. Powerful piece. CJ Garbo joins us now. Good morning, CJ.
Yeah,
Thanks
morning.
for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
I've got it on.
We may have an audio issue. Is the mic up?
Yeah, I've got this here.
All right.
Ah, crud.
We
Hang on.
may end up calling CJ. We'll see. If we can get him on. They're working on it right now to bring on his audio because I'd love to talk to CJ about this. Well, Bill, let's just go to a break here real quick. We'll see if we can get CJ up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We got him on the phone lines. Powerful piece in the Rocky Mountain Voice, written by a great guy who I love seeing at this Colorado State Capitol. He worked down there. He's been active in Republican politics, but he's just had enough of the state. He's looking for greener pastures, more freedom, more opportunity, and I don't blame him. It's a conversation we have all the time in our family. So what keeps you in Colorado? And what would it take to finally get you to move to find some better state to live in? Joining us now is CJ Garbo. Good morning, CJ.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, gosh, you lay it all out here in this piece. Let's talk about where you guys are heading and why. What was it, this particular legislative session that did it for you?
I'd have to say yes, even though we've been looking to move probably since 2021. I could kind of see the writing on the wall when the Democrats entered the supermajority, and now that Democrats are no longer have the supermajority, I wanted to get active and get down there and see if I can help kind of perpetuate our values and our voice, and try to see if we can be proactive in engaging our state legislature, to hear that there are other people in this state that hold different views and have different ideas and different ways to solve some of the problems facing the state. And the reaction, being there, it was like seeing it all in HD. It was almost like my existence and how I see things and how I see the world was just met with contempt. And I approached it with kind of a, saying, let's not impugn motives with what kind of they're doing. It's kind of going with an open mind. And I also want to be clear, it is certainly not every Democrat. There are some people there that do try to work across the aisle, but in my observation and experience, they're the minority as well. And there's a very strong and powerful, without a better way of saying it, hateful group that just, it feels like they're governing in a way that is almost intentional to hurt us. And again, I hate to impugn motive, but that's just how it feels very often.
That's CJ Garbo. He's got a piece written in Rocky Mountain Voice titled "A Political Refugee in Colorado, The Painful Choice to Leave My Homeland." CJ, I feel like it's almost on a weekly basis. I hear great people that want to serve in some form of public capacity leaving because there's just no opportunities here. People don't quite understand what happens when you have a state dominated by a single party. Anybody that might be a lawyer, a lobbyist, someone that wants to run for mayor, maybe member of Congress, maybe statewide as governor, feels called to do that. There's no opportunities for them in Colorado anymore. I mean, there's you can't go. Me as a lobbyist, Democrats would never meet with me, right? So anybody who's talented on the Republican side when it comes to lawmaking leaves this state.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, I myself have been approached a couple times to consider running for office, and I always answer the same way. First and foremost, thank you, I'm flattered. And then the second response is absolutely not. I think for two reasons, the ones you just articulated, but if I'm also being honest too, I think my own party would be a detriment to my running for office and pursuing office for various reasons there. So I think the combination of the state being where it's at with, and I'm painting with a broad brush because there are decent Republicans out there too that are working hard. As you notice, I did commend them in the article, but I don't see a healthy, robust party statewide to the point where it can be strategic enough and have a strong and inspirational communication apparatus to be able to kind of, I think, what is needed to respond and kind of become relevant again.
That's CJ Garbo from Rocky Mountain Voice. He recently penned an editorial talking about why he is leaving our state. He makes some good arguments. In fact, many of those have been echoed by listeners of the Jeff and Bill Show that have seen family members or friends leave the state for exactly the same reasons. Now, what I want to do, explore with you just for a second, CJ, is talking about the Colorado GOP. And you got close to, but I'm not sure if you share my perspective on this. And just to know, I know you probably don't listen to the show every day. I'm an independent. I have been unaffiliated for over 25 years. I'm not new to the game. I dislike both parties at the core. Just so you know where I sit before you know where I stand, as Mike Rosen used to say. Now, I am of the perception, and I used to be a Republican. That's important in this conversation. I am of the perception that the Colorado GOP in the recent past, especially, has been too focused on the wrong issues. They've been trying to fight culture war issues when they should have been fighting economic issues. They've been too focused on things like furries in the classroom, stolen elections, who's showing up at a drag queen story hour, rather than whether or not you can buy a single family home, whether or not you can send your kids to college, whether or not you need to go get a second job to supplement your already full-time job just in order to keep your head above water. Is that what you're talking about as far as the failures in the Colorado GOP or where it may be, or are you looking at it somewhere else? Because if it is somewhere else, I'm really curious about what you see and your perspective on this.
Thank you for that, and your perception is right on the money. Now, C.S. Lewis, I think, once observed that it might actually be better to live under greedy robber barons than under the rule of perpetual moral busybodies. And why is that? Because the robber baron, driven by greed or thirst for power, may one day be satisfied, right? One day he might be, happy. But the moral busybody, they're convinced that tormenting you for your own good never stops. And their conscience assures them that they are righteous and that they make the best and most superior truthful decisions. Now, I'll pause there because people will think me as a conservative is saying that about some Democrats and how they govern, which that's how I do feel. But if you pause for a second, too, I think there are some Republicans that I would kind of consider a little bit more on kind of the extreme side that do kind of assert that moral purity, not just against Democrats, but other fellow Republicans. And so, to me, fundamentally, what that speaks to on both sides is I think it's a rejection of God. It's a rejection of authority outside of self-desire, self-control, and God represents objective reality, objective truth, and objective morality. And so without God, people are free to define reality however they choose. And I think that that's a fundamental that a lot of us, myself included, I'll put myself at the top of that list, we sometimes neglect and forget. And I think that just happens more and more often. And I think that if we can all humble ourselves a little bit and try to approach the situation knowing that I won't agree with everybody. If I put 100 Republicans in a room and all 100 of them stated every one of their single beliefs, we would never get 100% consensus. And yet we would have some people in the room claiming others are rhinos or others have more pure values or less pure values. And I often think that that's why Republicans don't clearly define a rhino, because the second one person will start to do that, then they will realize that they're not exactly 100% with somebody that they see as a pure ally, and then that'll create that weird, awkward conflict that, now which one among us is the actual rhino? So I think there's something higher and more inspirational and more universal from a human perspective that both sides have lost. And I'm of the personal opinion that I think just in this case, in the state of Colorado, that the left has just lost a little bit more. But the right isn't far behind in that area, sadly, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying about the left losing that a little bit more, because I believe that you're right on that one, where the left in Colorado has come from the perspective of we just need to care more. And we as Democrats are going to care more than you can. And because of that, now funding, economic constraints, all of that doesn't matter because this is about how much we care. And I think the best recent example is Mayor Mike Johnston in Denver. He cared so much he was willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal immigrants, yet the financial constraints of that has brought that budget line item down to zero this year. It's not that he doesn't care anymore, he can't afford to care. And I think that's right. Now, one of the things that is complicated in this is how do you think the Colorado GOP could get back to what we talk about, those kitchen table issues, those economic issues where they might be able to find ways to get some of those persuadable voters onto their side when the Colorado GOP has been so wrapped up in so many of these culture issues and fighting those culture wars. Is there hope? What would be your advice to the Colorado GOP if they asked you to come in? Oh, and also, I love your 100 Republican example. If we got 100 Colorado Democrats into a room, the only two things they could agree on would be that Donald Trump's a dictator and let's raise our taxes. It's only two things. I think that's fair. So, what would you do? What is your advice to the Colorado GOP if you were allowed to speak to them as a whole and they got into a whole room and they wanted to listen to you?
Yes, I'd say first and foremost, you have to be genuine about your messaging. And that starts with talking about the motives behind the party. Republicans are the party of thriving. And I think that, for example, we talk about economics, right? It turns into numbers and dollar signs and it becomes cold and callous. That same type of a message needs to be reframed in a way that's relatable to everybody in the state. Colorado is a majority independent voter state. 50% of registered voters are unaffiliated or independent. And if Republicans took the messaging and said, we care about property taxes not because of the almighty dollar, but we care about property taxes because there is a 79-year-old woman in Douglas County who built this county with her husband from the ground up. When he died, she became a widow. Her property taxes are now increased to the point where she's going to be pushed into homelessness and pushed to leave the county that she loved and helped build. And because we love and care for our citizens and we care for people, we don't want to see that happen. I think that that message resonates much more with people who have grandmothers or who know elderly people that they care about, rather than saying, I want more money in my pocket. That latter message can be shifted and turned into something that looks like greed and looks like, somebody that's just kind of a money hoarder. No, and that's the furthest thing from, I believe, the Republican motive for what our beliefs are and our policies are. We want to see human flourishing. We want to see communities thriving. We want to see, we want a restoration back to the time where everybody knew their neighbor. People could walk about their community and feel safe because everybody had a shared ownership of the success and the value and the safety of their community. And I think that that's what that we've lost sight of. We need to authentically and genuinely communicate love for people, not just people who agree with us, but for people who see things differently, and that we can live with them in a way where we don't violate their rights, they don't violate our rights. One of the things in my piece is I'm being taxed. Now I have to fund abortions with my tax dollars, which I don't agree with. And so can you imagine if it were reversed, if me having my right to bear arms, if now it's tax policy that all taxpayers have to pay for my ammunition and pay for my now required gun training courses, they would lose their heads, and rightfully so. I do not want other people who disagree with that to fund my right. So I don't understand why I now have to fund abortions with my taxpayer dollars, because other people agree, who are right now in the majority, that abortions is health care, which I also disagree with. So there's a lot of inconsistency happening.
Well, you write an article about how Republicans are leaving, and Bill looks at that and goes, well, it's the Republicans' fault that they're leaving. No. We're at a point where you have a single party that dominates this state, and good people, not just Republicans, oil and gas executives, the entire industry leaving this state, coal leaving this state. People are leaving the state. I'm sorry, but this is not a Republican problem. This is Democrats have so much control that they are pushing people out of the state.
Question on that.
And I think it's crazy that, Republicans need to focus less on social issues.
Who bears the responsibility for Republicans not winning those seats then? Who bears that responsibility?
The voters.
But isn't that also on the Republicans who couldn't win?
Why, Bill? The Democrats have total control of the state, and
they don't control
they're leaving,
votes.
and you're blaming Republicans? Give me a break.
Yes, I am.
Give me a break.
Yes, I am.
You are so committed to your social issues that you're willing to accept all this tax stuff so you can have unrestricted abortions, gay marriage, restrictions on guns. No. This is not Republicans' fault. You guys are the ones that are so committed to your social issues that you're willing to sell this state down the river in order to maintain them.
And the GOP has put up how much of a bulwark against this? How well have you communicated
We've had
and
plenty
going
of
there?
good candidates.
Did you
Bill.
win? Did you
we
win?
had Walker Stapleton. We had
win?
Heidi Ganahl. No.
What's the scoreboard say?
No. So
okay,
stop
so who
blaming
failed?
Republicans.
Who failed then? Who got elected and who
Democrats
didn't?
have failed
I'm
in the
not a
leadership of
Democrat.
this state.
I know, but I'm not a Democrat.
And the
but they
voters
beat the
are so
GOP.
committed to issues like abortion, they're willing to sell the state. It's not the Republicans' fault. Give me a break.
And yet,
CJ, I'm sorry.
Despite what the voters want, the Republicans sit there and stand there and say, we're doing this, and you continue to lose. That's on you.
No, this is on the voters. Go ahead. CJ, final words. Go ahead.
Yeah, break us up.
No, I was going to say, I do tend to agree that it is on the voters, and I think it's on the voters in a way that Democrats dominate and have a monopoly on the media. And I think the way that they frame things is slanted and sometimes outright dishonest, where they get the voters to vote in their worst interests. And then when we see the outcomes of those votes, how they fall apart, then Democrats respin it as, look, it's the Republicans' fault. But the Republicans, nothing passes the state legislature without Democrat approval. That's just the fact of it. And we are seeing the outcome of poor policies. And then when they say, Colorado's in a bad economic state because of the big, beautiful bill, which didn't exist until January, and these policies were bad for the last 10 years, is not the Republicans' fault we are here. But the voters may believe that because Democrats are in power. I believe they control the media narrative, and Democrats are not informed. So that's the first side of the coin. Second side of the coin is Republicans have to be better about messaging. That's how we counter that. That's the part I do believe Republicans own. But that's kind of, I guess, my final say. I think that that's the beginning of how to turn things around. We just got to get better about communicating and doing so authentically and in love.
Well, what
what
just gets me, and I understand it entirely, CJ, because my wife and I have these conversations. What bothers me is that good people that could make wise decisions about the guidance of our community are leaving. And I understand entirely why they're doing it, and it breaks my heart. So, CJ, brother, best of luck wherever you land. I hope we'll see you back eventually, but thank you for what you've done for the state of Colorado. I understand entirely why you're leaving, and makes me sad. But
yeah, I understand it too. Yeah,
great piece in Rocky Mountain Voice.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, we've got some cowboy poetry coming up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy and I getting heated, along with CJ Garbo. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
I'm just sitting there going, how... Make it about the Republicans. Oh, my gosh.
We got to pick this up another day. We will.
People are fleeing the states. The Republicans who have no control. It's their fault.
Yeah, we should talk about it. It's good.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to some cowboy poetry.
Yeah, something important.
Jeff Hildebrandt.
Don't look at me, man. I'm leaving the state. You guys are just messing it up.
Are you here through it all?
I'm not. Okay, let's get started here with something
nicely done.
Non-political. Okay, this is sort of a true story. Sort of. It's based upon an experience I had at a deli in L.A. one time when I was eating breakfast and listening to conversations that were happening around the thing. A group of writers met one day the way they'd met before. They talked about the books they'd done and who they'd written for. One had penned a kiss and tell for a movie actor's wife who told him every detail of her rather steamy life. Another one had written for a former football star and several politicians, but he won't say who they are. He wrote of things they overcame as if the words were theirs. He's a master of rose-coloring the stories each one shares. Those writers walked on past me, and I heard one make this claim. If you want to be successful but avoid the crush of fame, you must not seek the limelight, write impartial truths and lies. Then you can join the group that's called Ghost Writers in Disguise. Yippee-yi-yay, boy does it pay. Ghost Writers in Disguise.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a great connection to that song, right?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Well, it's Ghost Writers in the Sky.
In the Sky, yep.
Yeah,
Ghost Writers, not writers, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Ghost Writers in the Sky, which is a great turn of a phrase. And
it is.
Yeah. Although ghost writing has got to be a hard thing to do because you don't get any credit. You spend all this time working, and then the other person does all the book tours. That sucks.
You know, some people go for the money. Other people go for the credit. I'm here for neither.
And you found the right show.
That's exactly right.
All right. You can go cough, and I'll... Monday is a holiday. You guys are not working, right?
Nope.
You're not gonna
We
be
will
here.
be off Monday.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
not
right.
here. Not
It is
working
a holiday, and in recognition of that, there are days to honor bosses and secretaries, too, though nowadays they're assistants, so mind your P's and Q's. There are holidays for mothers, fathers, Christmas and Thanksgiving, New Year's, Independence, ML King, but, something's missing. The month of May has its own day, and then there's Halloween. And you can't forget St. Patrick's Day because everyone's in green. We have a day for Valentine's, for groundhogs, and Columbus, but there's nothing to celebrate the doctors who are among us. We celebrate for Hanukkah, for Kwanzaa, and for Easter, but when it comes to dentists, we just sit there on our keister. Now, I propose we change all that, and in the grand tradition of Western legends of the past, I suggest this one addition. On August 14th, he was born. So let's go all the way, and in honor of all healers, celebrate Doc Holliday.
Oh, that's good.
Doc Holliday, buried here in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Up in Glenwood Springs?
Yeah.
Came out because of the tuberculosis. Doc Holliday was the Val Kilmer character in...
Val Kilmer was the Doc
Holliday character. Yeah, I get those backwards. But so he has struggled with tuberculosis.
Yes.
And came here and died.
Came here, did a lot of things before he died.
Yeah. But August 14th is his birthday.
That was Doc Holliday's birthday, yeah.
Are there any Doc
Holliday's
Holiday
birthday.
festivals? Has anyone put together a Doc Holiday festival on the 14th?
I think you should.
Yeah, right.
I have a dentist who would be happy to participate.
Yeah, there you go. What
Anything to keep her hands out of my mouth, okay? It's just great.
What else you got for us, sir?
All right. It was a soggy Sunday morning when Kelly, Jeff, and Bill rode up to the little church. All was fine until raindrops started pelting all those sitting in the pews. That's when the preacher told them, I have some real bad news. We need to have the roof repaired, so I'd like you all to pray and consider giving extra if you can, starting today. Then he said, as an incentive, I know pickings are quite slim, so the one who gives the most today will get to pick 3 hymns. As a guitar played, How Great Thou Art, the offering was taken. The preacher was not hopeful, but then he started shaking when he spied a $1,000 bill there in the offering plate. Becky, in the back row, said, I'm sorry I was late, but I heard you say who gives the most will get to pick 3 hymns. Then she looked at Kelly, Jeff, and Bill and said, I'll take him and him and him.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is a good one.
That's fantastic.
3 hymns.
3 hymns.
3 hymns. That is good.
That is fun. Great.
You know, I found one day I found there's some reclamation places around town, and I had to have this conversation with my wife. They were selling old church pews. Oh, I wanted to buy one. I just wanted, just because. There was something. She's like, where are we going to put it? I'm like, hey, you are not seeing my vision here. I lost that argument. We did not have a church pew in the house. I wanted one.
You got another one for us, sir?
Well, how much time do we have?
We've got about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, I'll do a short one, and then Billy can talk again. Now, this week, we had a couple of communications issues in my house. And that led me to sit down and think about this. On the page again, I just can't wait to get on the page again. The doctor's office sent a code I must retype if I can only find the page again. On the phone again. Someone's texting on the phone again. But the typeface is so small, I just wish that they would call, and I can't wait to talk on the phone again. Thank you, Willie.
That is a good one. Speaking of all the pages and tabs you've got to have open, and then the kids, they don't call anymore.
No.
You know, they consider it rude to call somebody on the phone.
Well, yeah, it interrupts the game playing.
Do you talk to your grandchildren on the phone, or you talk to them via text?
We try talking to them on the phone. They ignore us. So we text them, and they'll reply right away.
Yeah.
They don't answer the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their parents say, be careful of scam grandparents calls.
You're going to sell you that extended warranty.
That's
huh?
right. That's right. We're scammers.
Wow. Well, Bill and I are going to be out Monday. So this was the wrap-in of the show until Tuesday after Labor Day. Bill, you got any plans? Jeff, you got any plans?
I'm not talking. Jeff just
I'm getting a haircut.
I'm not talking.
I'm going to get a haircut.
You're not talking?
No, because
No.
Jeff Hildebrandt, our Cowboy Poet, said he's going to talk, and then Bill comes in and talks. So I'm being quiet.
Okay.
In protest, huh?
That's good.
It's very hard for me to do this.
Well, that's what people long for out
It is.
in Radio Land.
Oh,
you know?
From my wife, too.
On Friday afternoon, they say, can you please keep talking so Bill won't argue with anybody?
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that reverse psychology is really powerful and impactful in Bill's life.
In what way? Oh, the idea of to talk.
You will take the opposite of whatever somebody else says. Just
I have that
kind
ability.
of as a natural reflection or
Here's the way.
Well, a lot of people. Let me interrupt you,
please.
No, a lot of people make statements, make comments, but haven't really thought them through.
That's most of the show.
In
it is.
50 years of being in radio, I have discovered. I don't do that, but a lot of people will do that, and And so if you want to get to the bottom of what they're saying and what inspired them, you have to ask questions. And you have to present questions sometimes in an adversarial way to get them to think beyond the superficial so that they can explain themselves. Yeah. And so I had an occasion a couple of weeks ago where somebody said something and they said, okay, we're not letting any new people in to this building. Okay. Does that mean anybody who's never been here before, or is that people who are scheduled to come in but haven't arrived yet, or what? Anybody. Okay.
Just anybody at all. Yeah, as Jeff has discovered, I'm kind of wired to swim against the current. That is how I am built.
I think I'm going to think about this some more because we're going to start to use some reverse psychology.
All I'm saying is check with my parents beforehand. It doesn't work out so well all the time.
All right. Great show. Have a great Labor Day. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
We are KNUS.